Hello fellow dicers, welcome to my video on Throne and Liberty, and yes, I did say fellow dicers. That's going to be my new intro. This is going to be my first look at the full game. I have already done one on the beta, so please sit back, relax, and hopefully you will enjoy this video.
Okay, that hurt. And that hurt as well. Oh, I thought that was going to hurt as well. I think you're supposed to chain those together so that you grab onto the next one before you... Oh, Jesus. Before you hit the ground. I almost killed myself just by jumping up a cliff. That's ridiculous. Anyway, excuse me. I wanted to do this video from a bit further in because the beta that I did a video on basically had exactly the same sections. So I believe the beta was the equivalent of Act 1 and maybe Act 2 as well, or at least Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 I think they call them in this. Maybe even more, depending on how far you got, but I doubt whether it was the full game. But yeah, I did all of this in the beta, but for my original first impressions video, I didn't include those. I didn't include this bit. It was basically up until the shore. So I wanted to get past that so I could do more of a new content, basically. Now, this is going to be just a recap, so I'm not going to go into any details. I have played different games since this, and I mean different MMOs. So, for example, you will have seen a video on New World Eternum that I have done, on the beta at least. And unfortunately for this game, New World Eternum really did capture my imagination, and I really did like it. Basically, it highlighted some of the flaws of this game that I didn't really consider when I did my beta first impressions. So when I was quite glowing about the game back then, I think there are some things that do need to be addressed within this game. One of those, strangely enough, is the fact that it feels pretty generic. It's difficult to quantify that. It just feels a little bit soulless, I would say. If I'm going to be honest, I think it's the fact it's a very Eastern feel to the game, and I'm not a huge fan of Japanese RPGs these days. I used to love them back in the day, but these days I'm not a huge fan. I think they're a little bit too quirky for me. The whole Amatoi thing in this, where you've basically got a floating sack boy following you around everywhere, just a little bit weird. I suppose that's what gives it its unique nature. But I think we've seen similar things in games like Diablo, where you've got a pet. Torchlight, I think, first did it, where you basically had a pet that would do things, but it wasn't this kind of little floating toy. They had a bit more about them. But anyway, like I say, I think it feels a little bit soulless. There are obviously some issues as well, like my character constantly has this flashing arrow. I don't even know where it's pointing. It just seems to be flashing around, and it doesn't point in the direction your character's facing, weirdly. It always points off to the side somewhere. I don't know whether it's supposed to be telling me to go somewhere, but it's not pointing me in the direction of the main story, because this section that's on screen at the moment is the main story. And as you could see from that little bit of cutscene, the camera actually flew through the arrow that I was talking about and did kind of give it a really weird appearance on the screen. You can see it there, just to the back of my character. It's just flashing away. Very odd thing, and I'm not really sure what it's for. The voice acting in this game is kind of a little bit forced. I think I said that during my beta impressions. If not, I meant to. It does feel forced. Whether that's a big problem for some people, I don't know. But once you've played games like Eternum, where it's tongue-in-cheek but not forced, it's actually quite good. Especially, I can't remember her name. That's really bad. I think it's Grace O'Malley. She's got a brilliant actress playing her voice lines, good old Irish voice lines. But anyway, so yeah, it's highlighted that there are a few issues with the voice acting in this game. Now, graphically, it is not bad. For an MMO, it's definitely not bad. The environments look really nice. Characters don't look too bad, but they definitely don't look as good as I remember them. Because I remember doing a comparison between this and New World when I first picked New World up and thought New World did look cartoony and relatively old school in comparison. But in reality, the characters in this aren't that much better. They are better, don't get me wrong, but they're not that much better. They're not a huge departure. Now, from a gameplay aspect, if you are heavily into MMOs, then don't expect anything much different. One thing that this game does, and quite a few of them do, I think it improved with Elder Scrolls Online, where all of your attacks you had to make yourself. Whereas in this game, you can basically lock onto an enemy, and if you don't press another button, you'll just do standard attacks consistently until the enemy goes down, or you go down. The only additional input you need to add to this is your skills. So basically, you lock on an attack with R1, but if you hold R1 and then press one of the face buttons, you will do an associated skill attack. If you press R2 and one of the face buttons, you will do an associated secondary skill attack. And if you press R2 and use the direction pad, you will do additional skills, whatever you've mapped those to. They can be a mixture of your primary and secondary weapon. It's not a bad system. I think the whole using your D-pad is quite difficult, especially as sometimes you need to turn while you're doing it, so you can't use the thumbstick and the D-pad at the same time. And I do find that in games like this, sometimes it becomes a little bit difficult. Other than that, the combat is as you would expect. You don't really feel much punch to it, you don't feel much weight. It very much is a case of you basically hit something, it doesn't necessarily react to your impacts. Sometimes it does, but it's got to be quite a powerful attack. This does have slightly better impact than other MMOs. So for example, when I'm hitting these wolves, if you have a look, they do move a little bit and the screen does shake, which isn't standard. Oh, excuse me. There we go. Right, isn't standard, but it's something that does add to the feel of the game. I do find I'm going to compare this to New World quite a lot because I've played both recently. They're both MMOs, and I'm actually going to be doing a video comparing the two when New World Eternum actually releases, simply because they're both published by Amazon Games. So we're going to have an Amazon Games head-to-head. When I'm playing them for that, I'm obviously going to go more in detail into certain aspects. So although I prefer New World, I'm not going to say it's better in every respect than this game. But until I do that comparison where I'm playing them both full games, because the Throne and Liberty that I'm playing at the moment is the full game, it's the full release. I haven't obviously played New World full release at the time of recording this video. So we will see. We'll see what the outcome of that is. But either way, the combat is slightly better than some other MMOs. It's one of the issues I have with Elder Scrolls Online, which I do love. I love that game. But the combat is quite... it doesn't have much presence your sword tends to kind of like just go through things. There is a sound, but there's no real feedback for. There's that bloody arrow again. There's no feedback for hitting the enemy as such. So we've mentioned voice lines, voice lines. We've mentioned combat. The story is a little bit odd. It's kind of like you expect from most MMOs, where you're just dropped in the middle of something and then expected to know what's going on. No idea what's going on is the answer. You kind of have flashbacks to a child, and then you have waking dreams as an adult, so it's giving the impression that those two characters are linked in some way. Probably the same character, probably the same boy or child has grown up to be your character. I said boy because I've obviously got male character. You can pick female as well. I didn't go through the character creation specifically because, as I said in my first impressions of the beta, it's extremely long and I take an absolute age to get my character the way I want it. Sometimes I can't get exactly as I want it due to limitations, which is basically what happened with this one. So yeah, I didn't bother with that, but I think realistically the story is it's kind of a little bit odd. I'm not quite sure what's going on, who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, or even what you are, because you're not a standard human, you're a star child or something along those lines. But anyway, other than that, what do we have? So it is an RPG, so we obviously have skills, we have leveling. The leveling is odd, it must be said. I'm not going to go too much into detail about it. If this video does well, I might do additional videos on it, simply because I find the whole interface for this game extremely confusing. Maybe it's because I'm not an MMO wizard or an MMO main. My main games are things like Space Marine 2 or Diablo 4, that sort of game. So ARPGs, looter shooters are my main ones. I consider Space Marine 2 to be a pseudo looter shooter, even though there's no loot. But you know, you level up your character and you unlock your armory through points. It's not a first-person shooter; it is a third-person shooter, but it's Warhammer, so it's obviously linked to dice one way or another. Honestly, it is. But there we go. So yeah, maybe it's because of that. I just don't quite get all of the menu things. They seem to have made it extremely complicated for no reason. And leveling isn't standard. It's kind of, you level up, but then you have to do certain things to unlock a reward for leveling up, which I would have thought leveling up would have been the reward, but it isn't. And it's a really confusing situation. Now this video, I don't want it to go on too long, but obviously I'm going to play for as long as it takes, but I'll probably cut out a fair bit of it because there's a lot of talking, there's a lot of similar gameplay. I will try and remember to do a cut for the skills, etc., just so you can at least see the skill tree. I'm not going to say I will remember because my memory is terrible at the moment, and if I haven't and I need to get this video out, then I will do. Mainly because I'm going away for most of October and the beginning of November, so I'm trying to get a load of videos scheduled. So although you're probably seeing this quite late on, I've probably had this finished for a number of weeks, just to make sure that I have no break in upload schedule. such as the way of needing to
Those who fled from the wolves found themselves
bow down to the algorithm.
Iskale with
Stop
the farthest
uploading,
star fragment
don't get
without by a
recommended.
pack of ravenous wolves set upon them.
Right. This is exactly what I mean by the menu. It's just crazy. And these little doll things, the Amatoi, yeah, I mean, they do help you by collecting stuff and things like that, so I don't want to not use them, but I don't know. I just think they're a little bit weird. Especially the ones that just make that kind of sound. It's just a little bit, yeah. I'll try this one just because, I don't know. I don't even know why. I just want to try that one. Right, there it is. Sorry, just had to turn that main light off. The flickering was doing my head in. I don't know whether you'll pick that up on the video, but basically the little image in the corner of the screen was just going absolutely crazy with flicker. It was doing my head in, so just had to go and turn that off. Okay, so one of the things about this game is you can turn into different creatures. So you have a dash creature, you have a glide and a swim creature for the different movement types, which is a bit odd. Inventory management, you have that, which is another thing. Your attributes, you have no vigor or constitution. It's all based on strength, so it makes melee classes really simple. Just go for basically strength. Sorry, that was my motion powered light that's just gone off. That's why the camera's gone a bit darker. This is the leveling thing. In fact, I'm not going to go into that. That's just ridiculous. Let's have a look at the skills. So you can level up your skills, but you have to use skill books for it, which again is a bit weird. And one thing that I found, which I'm not going to show you here, but if you change your weapon, it doesn't change your equipped skills. So you have to go in and change all of your skills, including your defense skill, because if you don't, you cannot defend, which is just weird. It's a completely weird system that you're running around, not being able to perform skills, not being able to perform blocks or parries, because you've changed your weapon, but the skills haven't changed along with it.
And on that lovely bit of information, I'm going to leave the video there. If you've enjoyed it, please make sure you do click the like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and click that bell icon. And please do leave me a comment down below. What are your thoughts on Throne and Liberty? Anyway, I will see you for my next video very soon. You all take care. Bye for now.